Welcome to the second episode of Point of View, a new series by Amazing Workplaces. In this new series, I shall be getting into a discussion with leaders from various organizations spread across India as well as across borders. The idea is to get into conversation with them, to get them to share their views about the various aspects that make organizations really amazing. The purpose is to understand what drives leaders to their own workplaces so that we can delve deeper into the corporate philosophy and share with you path breaking ideas. Ideas that come straight from people who have gone ahead and changed their workplace to make them better, more inviting, extremely thriving for their own people. Today, our guest on the show is Somil Agarwal. Somil comes with 12 plus years of experience at leading global firms like Cisco, Bharti, Airtel, Cushman and Wakefield, and more recently at MakeMyTrip. Welcome, Somil, to Point of View. I'm so glad that you accepted my proposal to be one of the first few guests. So, Somil, yeah,
Thank you, Ekta.
welcome, Somil, yeah. So, Somal, I understand that you have been a part of the founding team of 3G and 4G internet at Airtel, and have closely been involved with the advent of the mobile internet revolution in India. So, can you tell our audience about your journey so far and your keen interest in technology and marketing and your passion for mobile phones, internet, and travel? Let's hear it from you.
Sure. So, thank you, Ekta, for having me on this session.
My pleasure.
And see, fundamentally, I have my story actually with technology, if I were to say, it starts way beyond even my career started.
Okay.
So, back then, when the first mobile phones were coming into the country, way back in the late 90s, is when my father got his first mobile phone. And I remember the fascination with mobile was tremendous for me. And to that extent that I remember going to my board exams and standard 10th boards, and you would go to the board center and you were waiting outside for the gates to open. And I would take my father's phone and I will call up the IVR, because at that point, if you wanted math scores,
Yeah.
you had to call an IVR which costed some 30 rupees a minute.
Yeah.
But I used to take his phone and call that IVR up and tell my friends that, hey, this is the latest score. And at that point in time, having that ability, standing in front of a gate and being able to tell your friends, "Ki this is the latest score," that in itself was a huge, you can say, bumper for a young kid. And I think somewhere that entire fascination with mobile phones started back then. And I think a lot of my career choices over the years fundamentally have got shaped because of those early experiences. So right from the fact to say where I went to do my engineering, what branch I chose for my engineering, or the organization choices I've made over the years, a lot of that has been driven by that passion which was around mobile phones, around technology, around internet. And somewhere along the line, obviously, I got into the field of MBA, and which is where I discovered that marketing is something which is very core to me. Solving consumer problems, finding what is the right consumer journeys. And which is where that mix of being in the technology world and solving for marketing issues for consumers, that is where both the interests merged for me and has brought me here where I am so far in my career.
Okay, pretty interesting. In fact, which was this year, like 10 board and mobile phones, some 19, late 90s, maybe?
Yeah. So I think the first mobile phones in India came in about late 95,
Yeah.
and my father actually got his first mobile phone in 98. So I would say he was amongst the first few in the country from that perspective to have a mobile phone. And I think it's just that early access for a mid teenager to that kind of a technology at back then. I think it just got that passion started from there.
You may never have realized that it would take you so far. You would be instrumental in launching to 3G and 4G, yeah?
Yeah, no, and like I said, that a lot of my career choices are largely due to influence. So right from my first post MBA job was with Airtel, right? And this was way back in 2009. Now, this was a time then that entire telecom business was all about voice calls.
Yeah.
Internet was very nascent. On mobile, internet was even lesser. And at that point in time, I took a decision that within Airtel, I want to move to something which was very, means a lot of my seniors within the organization actually questioned it. That you are young, why do you want to go to a side which is not even proven? Mobile as an internet technology is not proven. Why do you want to go that route? But I was quite convinced, and because I had, and again, I think somewhere my experience with Cisco earlier actually helped me. Because at Cisco, I had worked with global clients in China, in Australia, in Taiwan, in the US, and those places actually had seen the explosion of mobile internet. So I
Right.
was aware of the potential of what this could mean, and hence I said that internet is not going to be the future. This is the future, and which is where I put in my, I would say, my eggs in that basket. And
Okay.
yes, I think that's just got me on this journey so far.
Okay, pretty interesting. So, Sumit, you have had an interesting and envious career, actually, if I must say, that many would aspire for. And you have been the youngest vertical head at Airtel and the youngest head of marketing in Cushman and Wakefield's history. You have successfully led cross-functional teams to deliver significant business impact. So, what are some of the key things that actually drive you to work for an organization, if I may ask?
See, I think fundamentally the biggest thing which has helped me, and I think obviously I've been blessed with the right kind of opportunities and the right kind of organizational support as well. Fundamentally, I think it all boils down to the passion of the individual. And it's that saying, right, that love what you do or do what you love.
Yeah.
I think if one finds that passion in what they are doing, I think then that ability to reach heights is comes very naturally. And for me, and to that extent, I would say that a lot of it was because, like I said, for my passion for marketing, my passion for mobile internet as a category, which helped me achieve this. So, like the thing we said, that the youngest vertical head at Airtel,
Yeah.
uh, this happened because they were setting up a new vertical for mobile internet.
Yeah.
And because I had started working on it 2 3 years prior itself, when no one else in the company was even working on it, that just put me in the right space to put in my, and the organization gave me that opportunity. And
Absolutely.
similarly, my focus on marketing, my focus on solving consumer problems is where this entire Cushman and Wakefield role also happened. So after about 8 9 years at Airtel, when I wanted to explore something new and learn something new,
Yeah.
so Cushman Wakefield was a totally different industry, no
Yeah.
relation to technology,
Absolutely different. Yeah.
absolutely different, but which is where that ability to learn more, that ability to make a difference, that's what excited me. And I could clearly see that for me as well as an individual, I'll be learning a different side of marketing, whereas I can also contribute a lot, and which got me to that. So again, I was not chasing those to say titles, or I was not chasing those benchmarks in that sense. I
Yeah.
was only trying to do what I was passionate about, and things just happened on their own.
Okay. So basically, what you are trying to say is that a person should be passionate about what he is doing, and if he's passionate, then uh, that is one of the key factors in the selection of an organization. So an organization should be able to, help him fulfill that passion, right? So if you are passionate
Definitely.
and the organization doesn't give you that opportunity, then it doesn't work out.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I think, see, and that's, I think, a lot of advice I keep giving even young people who are starting their careers, right? That it's important. And at the beginning of the career, so a lot of time people make choices based on money or maybe say job titles and a lot of those things.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, I have always been very clear that try and follow your passion. To say, if you follow your passion, and maybe at the beginning you will feel that, okay, my job pays a little less, or my title is not as glamorous as my peers, but as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, in the long run these things really just even out. Few in say in terms of money, a few lakhs here and there, or say in terms of titles, a few roles here and there, they don't really matter that much. But as long as you're enjoying what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and that will only happen if you're working somewhere where your passion is appreciated and where you're able to deliver as per your total abilities.
Okay. Great. So now, Somil, you're currently back in the internet space after your stint with the Cushman and Wake. and you're working as director marketing at India's largest travel e-commerce company, MakeMyTrip. Um, so while choosing this organization, what is it that attracted you back to this space, and why did you choose MakeMyTrip as your organization, current organization?
So again, a lot of decisions start being driven by what I'm passionate about. So some of the things which I've been passionate, like I said, technology, marketing, and one of the things which I've always, as an individual, been passionate about is travel. So I actually, in the last 10 years, if I were to say, I have traveled over 30 countries across the globe, and all those not because of my work, all those because of my own personal
Passion.
vacations and everything. So I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy going out and trying new cuisines, or maybe if every time I'm in a new geography, I would want to try, okay, what is the local drink? How do the locals live their lives? So that has always been an interest. Now, and after Cushman Wakefield, while I was doing my own, while I was running my own startup, I was always definitely still working with the startup and technology ecosystem, wherein helping to solve consumer problems, what is the marketing solutions which can come in to drive those things. And which is where when this opportunity with Make My Trip came to me, I could clearly see as a almost like an intersection of all my three key passions, right? Technology is there, marketing is there, and then travel, which I had hitherto, so as to speak, never thought of from my work perspective, that was also coming in. So again, the decision was driven by the fact that all the three passions which I have are getting delivered, and I will be happy doing this, which is where I said, okay, my entrepreneurial venture I put on hold, and I said that yes, I want to come back because this is an opportunity really where I feel I'll be able to deliver in a passionate manner. And I'd got other opportunities from other organizations as well, even while I was doing my startup. But again, somewhere that intersection of all these passions was just not happening.
Okay. So I hope you have a great, this stint at Make My Trip, and you are able to explore further, your passions in this company. Somil, right till now we have discussed, things from your personal perspective as to what drives you to, perform better and join an organization. Okay, but from the leadership perspective, because today you must have seen so many people working in front of you, seeing growth in front of you, moving out of organizations, joining organizations, all those kind of things you must have gone through. So what is it that you feel that employees need basically to stick to an organization for a longer period of time? What is it that can make them stick on longer?
See, I have a very, I would say, a slightly different point of view on this. I'm saying employees staying longer, I
Yeah.
think in current scenario, is
And
not something.
performing better also actually.
Yes. So I'm saying length of stay.
Yeah.
I think while obviously historically, and we know in India at least, we have seen their stories of our parents joining an organization and returning from the same organization.
Yeah.
But I think more and more as we move to the millennial and Gen Z and whatever the new terminology comes up, I'm saying in that age, it's important to have a meaningful time for the employee. And
Yeah.
when I say that, it means it's almost to say that quality of time matters more than quantity of time.
Right.
So if organizations are able, and that is where that's the challenge for the organizations, that how do you make sure, and especially when you're targeting the Gen Zs and the millennials today, which are coming new to the workforce, organizations have to keep reinventing themselves to provide meaningful opportunities for this generation.
Yeah.
So how do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them excited? How
Yeah.
do you offer things which this generation is passionate about?
Right.
Maybe 20, 30 years, some of the roles we do today would have been passionate for that generation or say our generation. But now the new generation is coming and they are fine, right? They see the global examples. They see people taking a 1 year sabbatical and going on a break,
Yeah.
just discovering themselves or traveling the world and a lot of those things, right?
Yeah.
15, 20 years back, this was completely unheard of kind of a practice, even in India. And I'm saying even today it is very less. But
Yeah.
as the new workforce keeps coming in, these are the kind of aspirations this new generation will have, and which is where the organizations need to make sure that they're able to find solutions which answer these aspirations, and which is where that quality of time becomes more important rather than the length of stay.
Yeah. So basically, what you're hinting at is that organizations need to relook at the way they frame their own policies for these youngsters. Yeah. Because they are the people who are the maximum number of employees. They make up for the maximum number of workforce basically today. Right?
That's right. That's right. And which is where that and I think again, a lot of this flexibility which the youngsters crave for, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying, look at it not just from a work perspective, right? Look at flexibility, everything we are used to today. You
Mhm.
want to order food, you go to an app and order food. You want to order a phone, you can go on an app and order something. So everything is being driven through it. It's almost like that instant gratification economy we are all living in.
Right.
And in that sense, we need to have enough flexibility for even this generation as well, so that they are able to fulfill their desires to that extent.
Absolutely. I do agree with you, but if we have to sum it up, as saying, okay, what are the top three things that any top three things that an organization can do in this current scenario to ensure that employees become more productive while they stay, yeah, in their tenure, they become more productive, and we can give a better environment to the workforce. So what are those top three things in your mind? Maybe even as an employee, if you want to see, or as a leader's position you want to see it, or from an organizational perspective you want to see it. I think that would give us more clarity on this. Yeah.
So I think what is important, and especially for employees today, right? I think if I were to sum up in three things, I would say one, definitely that independence in terms of ability to make a difference. I think that is one of the key factors which drives people today, that whether I'm making a difference or not.
Yeah.
Second, I think obviously which is related to independence itself is flexibility. And when I say flexibility, it is in terms of ease of movement between roles, ease of movement between business lines, if in a larger organization and everything, which is what these people are looking for.
Even
And finally,
timelines for that matter, they work at their own convenience also.
yes, and which brings me to a third point, which is to say trust.
Right.
That is also very important. I think especially in today's time and age, right, when all of us, literally 90% of India right now is working from home, right? So people definitely want to work with organizations which trust the employees,
Right.
because historically again organizations are used to having people all sitting in that sense, sitting in front of them, seeing acha he's coming in at 9:30, going at 6:30, and a lot of those things, right? I think that mindset definitely needs to, and you see the best organizations out there, they really trust their employees. As
Hmm.
long as work is getting delivered, output is getting delivered, nobody's tracking that how many hours are you clocking in, or whether your laptop did you open at 9 a.m. in the morning or not. So I think if you look at it this way, independence, flexibility, and trust,
Yeah.
I would say these are the three core parameters an organization definitely would need to focus on if they're looking at getting the best productivity from their employees, and definitely a larger good time spent with the organization.
Okay. So, in fact, the way you put it, actually, if we see trust, I mean, flexibility and independence is a byproduct of trust. If you don't trust an employee, you'll never give him flexibility and independence.
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
So, if they're all, different sides of the same coin, frankly speaking. Okay. Uh, now tell me, Somil. Currently, you have also mentioned like the current scenario, people working from home currently, and there's a lot of debate also, a lot of articles and all going here around the corner about how things are going to change because of the work from home scenario. Are companies going to adopt it for a longer period of time, or is it a 50-50 kind of a thing they are going to do? So, whatever the scenario, I mean, ultimately, I think it all depends upon what companies feel themselves is good for them. But when it comes to remote working, do you feel that it is, I mean, how can companies basically live up to their cultures, maintain their culture, and maintain their philosophies when they are working, especially in cases where onboarding is happening on a remote basis. There's lesser interaction between the teams. So how do you really foresee from here how things are going to shape up when it comes to culture building and maintaining diversity and flexibility and all? Yeah.
No, so clearly, and I think that's a challenge most organizations are grappling with these days as well, right? And I think there's no easy answer to this one, right? In terms of what should the organizations be doing. But fundamentally, right, I think we need to look at it this way. Historically, most organizations never really thought of work from home as a viable alternative,
Yeah.
and which is also what reflects in the large office spaces being built and everything around that.
Yeah.
Now, this I think of this pandemic almost like a very good test case for every organization.
True.
Anyone who never ever believed in work from home working also has seen the ability of this mode of working for them. So, see, fundamentally, this work from home, I think, is going to stay. And whether it's going to stay 100%, whether it's going to stay 50%, I think that is something for each organization to figure out as per what suits their environment.
Right.
But there will definitely going to be a certain section of employees who are going to be working. I think that's going to be a key challenge for business leaders as well as for the HR teams
Hmm.
on how do you make sure that that culture is maintained for employees who are say working from home.
Yeah.
What kind of mix do you bring in to say when people come to office? How do you engage with them? Or like some of the things you mentioned, how does the entire onboarding work in a virtual way? What are some of the best practices around it? I think each organization is learning today. I don't think anyone across the world has an answer to it. Say what is the right answer, so as to speak for it.
Yeah.
But organizations will keep trying new things, keep experimenting, and I think each organization will find what works best for them. Just in
Right.
my case, like I joined this organization about 5 months back,
Hmm.
and everything happened virtually for me, right from my onboarding to my joining. 5 months, I've been working all virtual. I've never even been to my office once.
I can understand. Yeah.
So, so this is it, and I think from which is where that again it's the learning for all organizations, and it's an important challenge for leaders, business leaders as well, because a lot of times what happens is business leaders think it's just a HR problem to solve for. That HR has to take care of employee morale or HR has to take care of employee engagement. I
Yeah.
think it's more to do with individual business leaders. How are they able to lead their teams? How are they able to motivate their teams in these times? And when even going forward, even if 40% of your 50% of your team is working from home,
Yeah.
how does the business leader is able to influence them, motivate them, and keep them excited about what they're doing? I think that is the challenge more for business leaders, is what I would say.
So, especially, you're right here, and especially when I personally feel that feeling of belongingness somehow, when you're working from home, does that real feeling of belongingness get hampered? Would you feel
No,
the same if you were, working physically in your office as you're, compared to what you're feeling right now, working remotely?
so on that also, Ekta, I think a lot of at times a lot of it boils down to individual, you can say individual behaviors as well.
Yeah.
So there are certain individuals for whom having to meet in person is
Yeah.
really important. It's just that you say, no, that vibe they get when they are meeting someone in person, and that's what bonds them to the other individual. And there are others who are quite okay even in this virtual environment, and they're able to form good, strong bonds and get work done, right?
Right.
So I think again, a lot of times it will be dependent on what the individual qualities or individual capabilities are. But if you look at it a larger goal, end of the day, that statement that man is a social animal, right? That is there. So there has to be some element of in-person contact, in-person conversations, and it's just those small things, right? And which today is gets hampered.
Hmm.
Those small side chats in the corridors,
Yeah.
those water cooler conversations. Those are
Yeah.
the little things which are never planned for by any organization, but that become a key part of having a physical office space.
Right.
Those are the things which get missed in this environment, and that is, I think, one of the key things for organizations to find out,
Yeah.
that how do we build that going forward.
because a lot of bonding happens over these small little conversations that people have, in the offices. Sometimes I do feel, that we talk a lot about culture building. I mean, culture is one of the major aspects of any organization. We know an organization by the culture it keeps, but working remotely, somehow, I mean, if I say starting from scratch, how does a person feel connected to that culture, connected to that organization, if that person is actually working remotely? It does leave me, with a big question mark, frankly speaking. So I'm just trying to, that's why I asked this question, because I am also trying to understand where is it actually leading us to. So productivity is one thing. Yes, it's if I am honest to my work, if I am productive and passionate, if I'm passionate about what I'm doing, in the end, it does make a difference to me that I'm delivering. But am I connected to my organization? Am I really connected? Or maybe if I'm not connected, then I get a better opportunity. I just go ahead with that. Or is there some connection which was there in the organization enough to pull me back? So that kind of question, those kind of questions are always there in the mind. Yeah.
No, and definitely, and I think which is where I would say just reiterate a lot of it is dependent on the leadership of the organization then. Because see, culture is all about how a leadership of an organization defines it to be.
Yeah.
End of the day, even in organizations, it's we humans who are interacting with each other, right? And there's a certain way of working we all develop. And it's in that sense, I fundamentally believe a culture is clearly a ownership of the leadership of the organization, and which is where even in these times,
Yeah.
how leadership communicates with the larger organization, how the leadership is able to show them the right kind of direction,
Yeah.
and how the leadership is able to again keep the employees engaged and motivated in the, so as to speak, what is the larger organization goal each one is working for or trying to solve for.
Right.
And I think as long as those key messages are clear for the team,
Yeah.
I think then those productivity and everything else just comes in between. But I'm saying those larger objectives, as long as they again people are motivated enough to be working for those goals,
Yeah.
I think culture gets taken care of automatically from there.
Let's hope so. Yeah. So yes, I do agree that leaders do play a very, very important. I mean, they are the ones who actually have to uh, initiate that entire culture process, because it culture is always top down. So people do imitate what the leadership tells and does. Frankly speaking,
Yeah,
so yes, definitely, and let's see how things go forward from here. Well, Somal, it's been a pleasure having you on the platform. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this.
thank you, Ekta. The
We'll meet
pleasure is
again.
mine.
I'm sure our audience will love to hear this conversation between us, and hope to have more meaningful conversations in the future. Thank you once again, Somal. Have a great
Sure.
evening. Yeah.
Thank you, Ekta. Same to you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.